Hello, and welcome back to episode 6 of Grave Humanity Podcast. I know I'm a day late, but we're working on it. And I'm also a week late on Patreon, and you know what? Baby steps. At least I'm trying to put a podcast or episode out each week. Baby steps, baby steps. I actually wasn't 100% sure if I was actually going to get to today or this week's episode because I have a sick child again who is not resting and still acting crazy and puking. Anyways, this week we are in Colorado. Also, before I start, I put a poll on Instagram to see how we might feel about doing like a scary thriller horror movie review at the end of each episode. I've been trying to watch a lot more movies, or at least watching a movie a week, because recently I haven't really had too much time for myself, I feel like, to like kind of relax. And so for relaxing, I'm trying to get my heart pumped up by watching scary movies. No, but recently I've been seeing some like newer and older scary movies come up on like streaming platforms, and so I've been rewatching some, and I thought how kind of fun it could be to do like movie reviews, like a 1 out of 10 good parts, bad parts kind of thing. But I don't know if y'all would be interested, so let me know. I'll probably figure something out on my Instagram so you guys could vote yes or no, so it's more permanent instead of the 24-hour story. But yeah, keep that in mind if you think that could be an idea that we could implement into the podcast episodes. Let me know. Yep. So, like I said, this week we are in Colorado, and I have 2 kind of short stories this week because I was kind of unenergized. I was not energized this week, and so doing the research was hard for me to bring myself to do. So I found 2 short stories that we're going to cover. So this week's episode is going to be shorter than the rest. Sorry about that. Baby steps, remember, baby step. But with that being said, let's do the damn thing. We are going to cover Natalie Bollinger. Bollinger? I should really start looking up how to pronounce these names. Bollinger. It looks like a Bollinger. Natalie was 19 years old and just finishing up high school in Broomfield, Colorado. She had received a scholarship to pursue her goal as a registered nurse. On the outside, Natalie seemed happy with life and really like having goals in life, but in reality, it was very dark for her. For the past 2 years, Natalie was dealing with an ex-friend turned stalker. His name was Sean Swartz. Sean was about mid-30s or 40s when Natalie met him. Sean was homeless, and out of the kindness of Natalie's heart, she would drive him places that he needed to go. And because of this, Sean became obsessed with how nice Natalie was towards him. On December 13th, 2017, Natalie posted on Facebook letting her friends know what was going on and not to make contact with Sean if he did reach out. And I have the actual Facebook post here, so I'm going to read it really quick. Hey y'all, I have a public announcement. There is a man, Sean Schwartz. I met this man when I was young. I ran into him about 2 years ago. Long story short, I became friends with him. I helped him out with rides and stuff and moved to Virginia. He drove across country to see me, slept behind my work for weeks. When I told him I didn't want to see him anymore, he sent me hundreds of texts and calls. He parked his car in front of my house, blocking Military Highway for hours. Laying on his horn, he was arrested. Since then, I've asked him to leave me alone, and he won't. He sent emails for over a year, close to every day, harassing me, making numerous accounts until I block him again, threatening my family, telling me he'll kill himself in front of me, and sending my friends and family harassing messages as well. I'm sharing this because he's posting slander about me all over Facebook. So if you receive a message, I am sincerely sorry. Please ignore him. It only encourages him when he gets a response, much like a child. He's mentally ill, and I'm trying to fix this. So Natalie had moved to Virginia, but Sean ended up following her, like she said in her Facebook post, and slept behind her work. Sean was not only blowing up Natalie's phone with texts, calls, and emails, but he was also threatening her family. The situation got so bad that Natalie ended up filing a restraining order against Sean. When Natalie posted to Facebook about what was going on, she didn't realize that Sean was actually able to see everything that she was posting on Facebook because he had created a fake profile, and he would even comment on some of the posts that she would write about him, trying to defend Sean in her Facebook posts. On December 28th, 2017, just 15 days after this Facebook post, Natalie went missing. Natalie's body was found a day later in a wooded area near her home, but she was not identified until a few days after. Natalie was shot in the head, and a 9mm shell was found near her body. During her examination, coroners also found that there was a deadly dose of heroin in her body. The immediate theory was Sean Schwartz was the one who did all this, but he was never arrested or tied to Natalie's death. He was, however, later arrested for disruption at a hospital where he had been taken due to his suicidal posts on Facebook. During the investigation into Natalie's death, authorities found hundreds of messages on her phone to another man. Natalie had posted on Craigslist in the Women Seeking Men category, which was answered by a Joseph Michael Lopez. Joseph was just 23 years old, and he delivered pizzas for a living. He stumbled upon the Craigslist ad saying, "I want to put a hit on myself." Natalie was looking for someone to help her end her life because she couldn't do it. When Joseph was brought in for questioning, he would tell authorities a few different stories. First account, Joseph said that he reached out to Natalie on Craigslist out of morbid curiosity. After exchanging numbers, Joseph picked Natalie up after his shift to find the perfect location where Natalie could die. Joseph said that Natalie had told him she was having relationship issues and it had all become too much for her. After looking for locations, Joseph told authorities that they couldn't find a spot, so he drove her home. The only problem with this story was that Joseph's car GPS put him at the murder scene. So then Joseph changed his story. After the two of them went to go look for a location, they found a spot in the woods, and Natalie shot herself in the head with a gun she had brought with her. Joseph left her there and had yet to report what had happened to the police. Investigators said that Natalie could not have shot herself due to the bullet's trajectory into her head. She would have never been able to pull the trigger without someone there helping her. Joseph's final recount of what happened was that he had originally messaged Natalie, trying to convince her not to kill herself. He did take her to go find a place to die, but was hoping that all of this would change her mind. She was set in stone, and he had finally agreed to kill her himself. Joseph said that Natalie and him prayed together before he shot her in the back of the head. He said he was shaking uncontrollably and looked away as he shot her. This final account of what happened was the closest one that made the most sense with the evidence police already had. When they arrested Joseph, they found that the gun he used, as well as Natalie's purse, was still in his car. During his interview, Joseph mentioned that when he was younger, he had kept a journal with kidnapping stories and stories about torturing people and murdering them. I don't know why this came up in his investigation or why he was even willing to say something like this while he was under investigation. I feel like that's something you should probably keep to yourself if you're already in this much trouble, but I don't know. That was just my thought when I was reading this. During his trial, Joseph initially was charged with first-degree murder, but when he agreed to plead guilty, this was dropped to second-degree murder charges. Because of this, he was only sentenced to 48 years in prison instead of life in prison. There are still a few unanswered questions from there. Blah blah blah. There are still unanswered questions from all of this. During the investigations, authorities were unable to find the Craigslist ad that Joseph had mentioned, which led to authorities unable to figure out how or when Joseph and Natalie actually met. Also, the heroin in Natalie's system was never explained, nor did they understand how it got there. And where did Natalie get the gun? And why did she have it with her when she was looking for locations with Joseph? Through it all, Sean, her ex-stalker, claims his innocence on Facebook and to anyone that will listen, claiming that he never was a stalker, but that he was in fact just a friend who drove to Virginia because Natalie had gotten into a car accident just hours after telling him she wanted to commit suicide. I find it interesting that the Craigslist ad also was never found in the investigation. I don't know if it was deleted and deleted Craigslist ads you just can't find again after, or if it was just never there. But very interesting that someone would even respond to a Craigslist ad, or why it didn't even get flagged. I feel like Craigslist should have like a flagging for like trigger words or something, but that is the story of Natalie Bollinger. On to the next. Adolph Coors III. Adolph Coors III was born on January 12, 1915, to Alice May and Adolph Coors Jr. From the name, I'm sure you could guess that he was part of the Coors Brewing Company family, and in fact was the grandson to Adolph Coors, as well as heir to the company itself. Adolph III graduated from Cornell University, just as his father and brother had. He was the president of Quill and Dagger Society, which I looked into, and it's a Cornell University thing. It's like really respected in the university. And he was also a member of the Kappa Alpha Society. Adolph III also played semi-professional baseball, and he got married in 1940 to Mary Urquhart Grant and had 4 children with her. On February 9th, 1960, while Adolph III was on his way to work, he was kidnapped. That morning, a milkman noticed an empty International Trevella an SUV, on the bridge with a radio on. Police identified the owner of the vehicle belonged to Adolph III, and when searching the surrounding area where the SUV was found, they located Adolph's hat, glasses, as well as some bloodstains. February 10th, his wife, Mary, received a ransom note in the mail asking for $500,000 for Adolph's release. The ransom note reads as follows: Mrs. Coors, your husband has been kidnapped. His car is by Turkey Creek. Call the police or FBI, he dies. Cooperate, he lives. Ransom: $200,000 in tens and $300,000 in 20s. There will be no negotiating. Bills: used, non-consecutive, unrecorded, unmarked. Warnings: we will know if you call the police or record the serial numbers. Directions: place money and this letter and envelope in one suitcase or bag. Have 2 men with a car ready to make the delivery. When all set, advertise a tractor for sale in Denver Post Section 69. Sign Ad King Ranch, Fort Lupton. Wait at NA 9 Tech 4455 for instructions after ad appears. Deliver immediately after receiving call. Any delay will be regarded as a stall to set up a stakeout. Understand this: Adolph's life is in your hands. We have no desire to commit murder. All we want is that money. If you follow the instructions, he will be released unharmed within 48 hours after the money is received. After this ransom note was received, locating Adolph and his kidnapper became one of the largest FBI efforts at this time. September 11th, 1960, Edward Lee Green Jr. came upon a pair of pants in the Rocky Mountains while he was hiking. Upon inspecting the pants, he found a pen in one of the pockets with the initials AC III. September 15th, 1960, a shirt that belonged to Adolph and Adolph's skull was found near a remote area near Pikes Peak. A witness also came forward around this time, saying that they had seen a yellow 1951 Mercury on the bridge around the time of Adolph's disappearance, with license plate having AT and 62 in the license plate number. Later, a car matching the description that was given was found set on fire and dumped in Atlantic City, New Jersey. During the investigation, they found that the car was owned by a Walter Osborne, who mysteriously moved out of his apartment in Denver, Colorado, a day after the kidnapping of Adolph. Walter Osborne turned out to be an alias for a Joseph Corbett Jr., who was an escaped murderer. With how much media attention this kidnapping was getting, there was a photo published in a Reader's Digest issue where Joseph was recognized by neighbors in Vancouver, Canada, and was arrested. Because there was no actual witnesses of the kidnapping, the investigators had to pull whatever they could find. Joseph's coworker had overheard him talking about how he was creating a plan where he would get over $1 million. They were also able to trace the typeface for the ransom note. Now, I checked to see what a typeface was, and it's basically the size, weight, slope, width, etc. of the letters on how the typewriters used to type back in the day. And because of this, they were able to trace it back to Joseph's typewriter. The best piece of evidence they were able to find was soil that was found in the undercarriage of the SUV that was burnt, noting that it was a rare pink feldspar and granite minerals, which was also found on Adolph's body. Joseph was convicted of first-degree murder on March 29, 1961, and was sentenced to life in prison. He was, however, released on parole in 1980 for good behavior, and he got a job working for Salvation Army where he drove a truck until he retired. He committed suicide at the age of 80 in August of 2009, just 10 miles from where he had murdered Adolph. He maintained his innocence till the day he died, never admitting that he had murdered Adolph. That is all I have for you folks this week. I am so sorry that it's a little bit short. But like I said, I was a little overwhelmed this week and I didn't really have energy to do this episode. So I found 2 short ones and I persevered through it. But I'm hoping to be back on track next week. More energized, more prepared for it. I am going to be releasing the Patreon this week. Bear with me, people. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy, and let me know how you guys feel about the movie reviews. Or if you have any ideas, please, I'm begging you. My mind is blank. I have no ideas right now. This is it. This is all I got. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for joining me. I apologize that it was short this week, but I thank you for being here as always, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.